Hello, and welcome to today's live webinar. I'm Juliana Salazar, your host, and I'm happy to be here and talk about Ayurveda and how we can play a big role into taking care of our health and our well-being during this upcoming spring season. I am a Ayurvedic health practitioner, a wellness holistic coach, and I also love to teach about meditation. Now, before we get started, I'd like to go over the topics just to give you an idea of what we're going to cover today. First, I'm going to give you an overall overview of Ayurveda, which is an ancient holistic science of health and lifestyle. Then I am going to teach about the seasons such as spring, winter, summer, fall, etc. And how all of the seasons, no matter where you are in the world, even if you don't have all four seasons, it could affect you as an individual from a mind, body, spirit. Then I will also talk about my top 4 Ayurvedic practices that I recommend when we are transitioning into spring. I'll also talk about other things that you can do if maybe you are in the southern hemisphere and are now going into spring, but rather into fall, that could be beneficial for you as well. So make sure you're in the lookout for that. And then I want you to know one of the top reasons why we need to do a cleanse before spring season and before fall season. And is really the most important part of keeping our body or maintaining our body in a healthy state. It's like when you have a car and you have to do a tune up and you have to change the oil and do all those things to maintain it. Well, our body needs to do the same. So I'm going to talk a lot about that, and make sure you have paper and pen, take lots of notes. At the end of the class, I am going to answer all the questions live. If there's any questions that come out afterwards, you can email me, juliana@vivanaturally.com. But in the meantime, if there's anything that you think about that you want to comment or ask during the class right now, you can put it in the chat window, and it's located below in the screen at the bottom. There's a chat icon, so you can type in your questions and I will answer them at the end. Now, before we get started, I'd love to know, where are you listening from? Where are you located? You can put the city, the country, the state. I would love to know where it is that you're listening us from. And I see we have Davenport, India. That's amazing. Thank you for tuning in. We have somebody else from India. Welcome. And Winter Haven, Orlando. Well, I am located in Orlando, Florida. So I'm very excited to be here with you, and thank God for technology that we're able to connect no matter where we are in the world. So with that being said, I like to tell you one thing that I know I mentioned upon registration of this webinar, that you will receive a gift during the live training. So at the end of the presentation, I will give a link to you. If you're listening to this live, I will put it in the chat window so that you can download it right away. And what it is, it's an Ayurvedic food recipe guide where you'll see the top recipes that I recommend for this season as we transition into spring and during spring season. And I also have another gift, but I want to keep this one a surprise because I think you're going to love it. And there's so much about it that I'd rather save it for the end. That way you can absorb the information and focus on what we have going on first. Now, with that being said, I do want to encourage you to turn off your notifications. If you feel like that may distract you from today's class, remember there's going to be a lot of knowledge for you. Maybe it could be new or reminders, certain things that you know about Ayurveda and the seasons, particularly spring. So one thing I recommend is just to limit those distractions if you can. And that way you have full attention into today's class. Okay, so before I do my classes, I love to do this quick exercise, which is a breathing exercise together to help us prepare for the rest of the class. The reason for this is to really take the time to be mindful of this moment and also to take those deep breaths that allow us to give more oxygen to our brain, therefore enabling us to remember the information, remember what we experience, and connect to all of our senses. It's really simple. If you've worked with me before and if you've attended my classes, then you know exactly what it's like. So all it is that we're going to take 3 deep breaths together on my count. We're going to inhale for 3 seconds, pause for 1 second, and then exhale for 3 seconds. You can do this with your eyes closed if you like. You can also, if you want to, do only 1 or 2 breaths or do more, depending on your comfort level. And then afterwards, we're going to do some affirmations. These 3 affirmations that I have here are so good for when we embark into a learning journey, right? And this is the purpose of this class, is to spread awareness of Ayurveda, to be able to give you the tools and practical ways that you can apply this wisdom from thousands of years ago at home, starting right away. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. If you're not driving a vehicle and you are sitting in a place, then just make sure you're comfortable. And we can do this together. It's really simple. And like I said, if you want to, you can close your eyes. When we exhale, you can either exhale through your mouth or through your nose. It is up to you. Now on my count, we're going to take the first deep breath. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. One last time. Inhale. Exhale. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes if you had them closed and maybe wiggle your hands and your feet a little bit. It was a really quick breathing exercise, but you will notice the difference as we continue to move along here, tuning in into your senses. Now we can say these 3 affirmations. I encourage you to either say them out loud in your head, or if you want to write them down in a piece of paper, your choice. I am worthy of love and healing. I am present right here, right now. I am here to embrace learning. All right. Now we're ready to dive right in, and I am going to start with giving you an overview of Ayurveda. Simply put, it is the science of life. It takes into account each and one of us as an individual from mind, body, soul perspective. Now, it is more than just herbs and spices and cooking and meals. That is only one piece of the entire world of Ayurveda, and it's an ancient practice. It has existed for more than 5,000 years. It derived from India, and it's spread around the world. Ever since then, there's actually a lot of things that different cultures do in different parts of the world that took from the Ayurveda practice that you probably may not even know. So as you start to learn more about Ayurveda in this class, you may start to see some things that are familiar to you that you may have heard of. So take a note of that and just remember that it came from the practice of Ayurveda, which is the science of life. We also believe in Ayurveda that it's really important. There's not a one size fit all. Basically, when I work with clients and I recommend a plan, a wellness holistic plan, everybody is different. And now I'm going to talk about what that means exactly, because it's important to correlate the fact that we are connected with nature and nature is connected with us. We are connected with each other. And it's maybe a little difficult to realize that when we are busy on our day-to-day lives. But when we tune into that, that is really when we find a lot of purpose and healing. So now I'm going to give you a little bit of more insight into what Ayurveda is. And I'm going to start with the world in general. Then we're going to go into our digestive system as an example, and then we're going to transition into the seasons. So when I say the world in general, I mean the 5 elements, and they are right here. First, ether. Ether is space, or pretty much, yeah, space or ether. They're the same word. And what I want you to think about are the qualities of each of these elements. I'm going to mention a few, but I want you to think about the qualities, and then I'll give you some examples. So for ether or space, think about being way, way up in the sky, right? Way up in the sky. What are some of the qualities if you've been on an airplane, if you have heard of people going up in outer space? We immediately think of cold, light, clear, right? Maybe a little bit dark. There isn't like too much light unless the sun is hitting that way. So those are some of the qualities of ether or space. How does that relate to ourselves, like our system, our bodies? Well, I'm going to give you just an example for all of these related to our digestive system, because I can keep talking for hours if we go into every little thing that makes up the elements within us, right? Within us and in every way. Now, ether, as it relates to our digestive system, is the actual space that we hold in our bodies for all the organs that play a part in the whole digestive process, right? So in that case, in our stomach, our intestines, all of that, the space that we hold, the space that is there for them to perfectly fit and be able to do their job. Then we go to air over on the right hand side. Air, very simple. Think of a windy day. What are some of the qualities of when it's a windy day? It could be very gusty, very rough, very dry. It could be cold, right? Depending on what season and the weather that's happening. It moves, right? Air moves from place to place. So if we have a leaf standing or laying on the ground and there's air, it will blow it out to the other side and so forth. So how is that manifested inside of our bodies, particularly the digestive system? Well, the whole movement of starting where you eat food or have a drink, start in your mouth, right? So starting from all of that process, going down into your stomach, digesting, going through your small intestine, your large intestine, all of that movement, it doesn't occur on its own. It's part of this air element that helps things flow. And that happens with every other system in our body too. I'm just giving you the digestive example. These two together, the element of ether and air combined, are called in Ayurveda the dosha vata. So I'm going to go through all of these, but in general, Ayurveda pretty much simplifies all of these elements and groups them in a way where it's easy for us to assimilate, remember, and apply. Therefore, we have vata, pitta, kapha, as you see here, and these are combinations of the elements. So the first one being air and ether. Next, we go down to earth. A very common way to associate earth is with dirt. So think of a plant where the actual dirt that it's sitting in, and you water the plant. What is the quality of that? You have it a little bit moist, maybe it's heavier, it's more dense, it's solid, right? It could be a little bit cooler. You never really water plants with hot water, right? So it's going to be cooler in consistency. And think about also dough, right? So if you have flour, you're going to make some dish and you have some like natural flour, you make your own, and let's say almond flour, for example, right? So it's very light, it's by on its own, but when you put a little bit of water, it starts to kind of turn into dough, right? So it's dense and maybe sticky, and so that's what I want you to associate that with. Now, as it relates to our body in our digestive system, this element rules the actual structure and solidity of the entire digestive tract. So are the actual organs and the digestive tract that the physical component of them that is part of this element, earth element. Okay, because it's a combination of liquid and solid. Then moving down to water, very straightforward. I want you to think about the ocean, what happens in the ocean and rivers. Water flows similar to air, it moves. It does need a little bit of air in order to move along, right, to keep moving. So that's why when you mix air with water, you have current and you have even climate changes, rain, and so forth. So water, it's represented in our digestive system as all of the fluids that take place in processing our food and digesting our food. So starting with our saliva, when we ingest food into our mouths, saliva helps break down the food and therefore makes it easier for the stomach to continue to digest with the gastric juices and so forth, and then going through the intestines. So I just want you to like give a general understanding of how water plays such an important role in our digestive system. If we have dryness, then we can get the whole process can get stagnant, and we don't want that, right? We want to have everything flowing. Now, the elements of earth and water put together are kapha, and kapha is that second dosha where they're not in any particular order. You can say them in any different order you like. I'm just going from right down into the left. So when you mix earth with water, you have kapha, and therefore we associate those two together with a body type, a mind type, our emotions. So that's what I'm saying, that now this is going to start to make more sense, and how we are affected by the composition of these elements in our bodies. Moving along to the next and last element is fire. Think of the sun. What are some of the qualities of a very hot sun? Heat, intensity, bright, and it could be probably overheating, right? If we are exposed to a very hot sun for a long period of time, there could be consequences to our physical and emotional health and even mental health. So everything, pretty much all of these elements come together and make up everything around us, everything inside of us. And I want you to start being more mindful about that now that you know a little bit about it. I can go on and talk about it. We are literally, this whole entire class is just barely scratching the surface of Ayurveda. I would love to talk more about it and have like hours and hours of teaching Ayurveda here with you. But just for this time, I really want to touch on the important pieces and tie it all together. And then we can continue to talk in other forms. So water and fire together, those two elements make up the last dosha, pitta. All right. So now, since this webinar is specifically transitioning into spring, how to maintain spring wellness, we are coming from a Vata season where we have cold weather, windy type of climate, right? So more like Vata, dryness, and we're going into Kapha season. So like at the end of winter is the beginning of Kapha. And so right now, technically, if you live in the Northern Hemisphere, you are experiencing Kapha things. Like, for example, the weather may be a little bit not as dry, and people now start to have a little bit of allergies because the whole world is, or the Northern Hemisphere, think of ice, right? During winter, snow, it starts to melt, decongest. The same thing happens with our bodies, decongest. It's just that some more than others are more sensitive to this. So that's why it's important to do what we need to do, and I'll get into that very shortly, in order to transition properly to the next season. And it becomes easier after you know about it and you try it for the first time. It becomes really easy. All right. Now, I really think I was debating on not whether to share a little bit about my story, because this class is about you and giving you the tools so that you can practice Ayurveda from your home or from wherever you are. Uh, and then I thought, well, I think it may make sense for me to share a little bit about my story, and because it's the reason why I'm doing this class right here, right now. It connects back to my roots. So, in summary, I struggle with a lot of health issues for a long time. And I was very overwhelmed with a lot that was going on in my personal life, professional life. Um, my health struggled a lot, so it was just an additional challenge for me to overcome, and I couldn't, no one can give me answers. I went to a lot of doctors, I sought help, and it was very just treating the symptoms, not the root cause. And so here on the top you see 3 pictures of me in different states, very fatigued, extremely underweight, unhappy, and then just trying all sorts of diets, all sorts of things. I mean, I can't even count in my fingers how many how many things I've tried in order to overcome these health challenges. Going from hormones to digestion to skin to anxiety to all sorts of things. And I finally started to see the light at the end of the tunnel when I learned about Eastern medicine and Eastern practices and the culture that is so rich, time tested. And when I learned about Ayurveda, that's what changed my life. I started working with Ayurvedic practitioners that helped me to overcome all of these health issues that I had. I was so motivated to empowered. Also, I was empowered to heal. So here at the bottom, the pictures you see here are of me taking those steps and being guided by experts that know about Ayurveda and Eastern medicine and understand what that means for me in my life and the people around me. And so that is what motivated me to, after healing, to move on and study Ayurveda, become an Ayurvedic health practitioner so that I too can be able to help other people. Oftentimes, people tell me that they're encouraged to take a step forward, no matter how big or small it is, because of my own testimony. If you want to know more about that, you can go to my website, vivanaturally.com, and share a little bit more about it. But the reason why I'm telling you this is because it's what's driven me and what's motivated me to spread the knowledge of Ayurveda, to continue to do that with younger generations, with everyone around the world, thanks to technology. Now, I want to start connecting the dots with where we started, the elements, the doshas in Ayurveda, and now the seasons. So when we started to talk about the elements, remember how I paired some of those together and I call them Vata, Pitta, Dosha. Or Vata, Pitta, Kapha, and those are the doshas. Well, starting off with spring here, which is what we're transitioning into, like I said, it is the really kapha dominant season. You think of the properties, warmth. Right now we're coming out of winter, so there's a little bit of more warmth, that the days are starting to get longer as opposed to winter where they were shorter and it was gloomy. Moisture, and so all of these are qualities of kapha. Now, before I keep going, I want to say 2 things. First, if you are in the southern hemisphere, then you are transitioning into fall. So it's just the opposite, and that's totally fine. Just listen to the qualities and things that I'm going to talk about here that relate to fall, which I will get to shortly, and then apply that. And I'll obviously also take notes so that when you get to spring, in a couple months down the road, you know what to do. So you can still use this information even if you're in different parts of the world. And maybe you don't even have all of these seasons, all 4 seasons. Maybe you only have dry season and rainy season. That's totally fine. Just listen to the qualities that I'm going to mention for each of these seasons, and then connect that with where you live currently. And then one last thing is that everything in this class is informational and educational, again, to empower you and give you all these tools so you can practice, put this to good use. And it is not meant to treat or diagnose or prevent any type of illness or disease. Now, the next season that I want to cover here in terms of Ayurveda is summer. So the qualities of summer are hot, right? Now we have a little bit more intensity from the sun, bright, sharp. And once again, that is related to the Pitta dosha, right? So the Pitta dosha is a combination of fire and a little bit of water. So that's why in some places, I know here where I live in Florida, during summer, it rains more often than other times of the year. Okay, next is fall or autumn. And that the qualities of fall and autumn, just think about what happens in nature. The trees, the leaves start to fall. Okay, so it's kind of like shedding and getting ready to go into the next stage, which is winter. And some of the qualities of fall have to do with like movement, because they're transition. Even the animals start to move to different parts, seeking a little bit of warmth because they know that winter is approaching, and windy and even like dry. So you're going to start to feel a lot of dryness as opposed to spring and summer that a little bit or more moisture. Then finally we have winter. Qualities of winter are dry, cold, windy, and maybe even damp. If it snows or if it rains, then it's heavy, right? Slow, very cold. So that is the beginning of Kapha season and the end of Vata season. Okay, so now I'm gonna go into the main 4 practices that I recommend from an Ayurvedic perspective to remain healthy during spring season. Once again, if you are in another part of the world, you can still apply these according to the qualities that I've been talking about. And then of course, when you do get to spring season or similar qualities to those, then of course you can apply it then as well. First, number 1 is to have meals that are cleansing in nature. So what does that mean? We just came out of winter. Winter is meant for us to build strength and immunity. So that's why it is easier for our digestive system to process foods that are a little bit maybe heavier. So think of like hearty stews and soups, and think of the holidays, people tend to eat a little bit more. So our system can take it. Obviously, we want to opt in for whole foods as much as possible, plant-based. But now that we're going into spring, after we've built that immunity, where we've, gathered kind of, and also the animals do this, right? Before they hibernate, they like eat a little bit more. We are not promoting overeating at all. I'm just saying that our digestive system is stronger during winter, therefore it can take heavier meals. So that's not the case for spring anymore. So now we want to start being more mindful of the foods and even looking outside of us, what is growing currently and where you live. Go to your farmer's market, go shop locally, try to avoid buying frozen foods and frozen meals and things that get imported from other parts of the world. The more you eat locally, the better it is for you, because that means that whatever's growing is dependent on the climate, the weather, and that is part of the season. So you want to favor lighter and drier and spicier foods when you can. It doesn't mean things have to be really spicy, just a little bit of spices, turmeric and coriander and cumin and fennel. Those are the very common spices in Ayurveda that we use for most of our meals. You want to start the day with lighter breakfast than where you're used to. Maybe some fresh seasonal fruit and some tea, lightly cooked sprouts. And maybe in winter you ate things like oatmeal and a little bit more heavier consistency. So you want to try and eat lighter. And the number 1 rule in Ayurveda when it comes to food and eating is eat when you're hungry and stop when you're 80% full. You don't want to be extremely full. And don't eat your next meal until you've digested the previous meal. And the hunger cues is what giving you the signal. Also, don't drink with liquids, or don't eat and drink liquids at the same time, because it's going to dilute your digestive fire. In terms of lunch and dinner, you want to again keep cooking light, like very light. And to give you an example, cooked legumes, you want to soak them overnight so that they're easier to cook and digest. Add your spices so that also that helps, and some oil, um, sesame oil or even coconut oil or olive oil are good to cook beans and legumes to help them be easier to digest. Steamed vegetables and grains, and use lots of greens. This is the best time to use greens. I mean, again, let's look out our window, outside of our window. What are the farmers harvesting during spring? There's a lot of vegetables and spring mixes, right? Um, all sorts of things. So bitter greens like kale, fenugreek, cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, onion, ginger, garlic, are just some examples that you can start to implement into your meals. But pretty much when it comes to spring season and eating, you want to just be mindful to not eat too heavy foods, eat lighter foods that align with this time of the year. And don't be afraid to have more stringent, pungent, and bitter foods as well. You can be creative in that sense. Next, I want to talk about practice number 2 for spring season wellness, and it is herbal support. Herbal support is one of my favorite topics, and I cannot talk about it during Ayurveda class because we do use herbs and spices. It's plants from nature that allows us to promote wellness, right? From the inside out. And I'm going to give you some examples of how some of these can help to maintain wellness during spring. However, everybody is unique depending on your birth constitution, how healthy you are currently, if you have any health imbalances. That can change of the quantity and consistency of taking some of these. So what I recommend before you go out and buying tablets and supplements and things like that, even if they're natural, plant medicine is very powerful. So you want to be mindful of that and seek guidance from a professional that knows a lot about these plants. I certainly love, I can talk to you about that and give you some guidance, but I love using herbs, but I'm very careful with how I use them and where I use them because I understand how effective they are. So here, I'm just going to talk in general, give general guidance. And, if you want to continue to use more of herbs, then definitely work with an Ayurvedic practitioner like myself. So a pinch of turmeric powder with a little bit of warm almond milk is really good to support the immune system and promote good sleep. Springtime is very common for people to get allergies, to get congested, to even catch some colds here and there, get stuffy nose and a little bit of just discomfort. And it's very common in at the end of winter and then the beginning of spring. So once again, as we transition into the season, building our immune system and continue to eat the right foods, it's important. And so turmeric is a powerful way. 1 teaspoon of trifolo powder is another herbal support. You can take that with water in the evening, and this really helps to cleanse and detoxify our body and remove any toxins that we have. It helps a lot with digestion and elimination. Now, trifala is a combination of 3 different fruits, but they're not your average fruits that you eat at the grocery store. These are from India, and they're very, very useful for digestion and for releasing toxins. But they should not be used every day as a supplement. It's not like a vitamin C type of thing that you take every day or nothing like that. It needs to be used carefully. In this case, like I said, in trifle powder, it's effective. So another way for you to use herbs is holy basil. And in Ayurveda, we call that tulsi. And just in general, any spicy herbal teas help to promote a lot of this cleansing and elimination of toxins and buildup that may have occurred during the previous season in winter. Ginger, cinnamon, black pepper, all of this you can start to add to your foods or drink as a tea. Not only does it help with the cleansing, but also with your digestive system. So definitely start to be more open-minded with herbs. And like I said, if you want to continue using them long-term and learn about them, Ayurvedic practitioner can definitely be a really good guide. So now I'm going to talk about practice number 3, and this are daily habits. It's really important to remember that everything we do every day adds up, and it does not mean that we need to be 100% of the time always doing the steps, the to-dos and the habits, because it's unrealistic, right? We have other things happening in our lives, responsibilities and so forth. So I want you to think about the 80-20 rule. 80 to 90% of the time, you strive to doing these daily habits, as well as the other 2 practices that I mentioned, the foods, the cleansing foods and the herbs. And then the rest of the time, you can, treat yourself and do things here and there, but you'll start to notice that your body thrives and craves for you to do these daily habits and eat these foods and etc., because it feels better. You're going to feel better, you're going to look better, and that's the most important part. Because then if we're sick, if we're not feeling good, if we're fatigued, we don't want to do anything. We feel even lack of motivation, right? So everything starts from the inside out, but we just have to educate ourselves and be aware of them. Daily habits in Ayurveda have to do with what we do on a day-to-day basis, and it's actually a term called dinacharya. Dinacharya is really just the whole entire rhythm of the day, and in general terms, there's specific times that it's recommended to eat your heaviest meal. For example, between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. That's when our digestive fire is the strongest. And then it's better to do creative type of work in the early morning, or not in the early morning, but in the late morning or early afternoon. And then in between that, it's more like wind down and relax and kind of, start to get into your bedtime routine. So we have an internal clock, and that is aligned with our habits. What we do every day will affect the rest of our rhythms. And one of the things that I recommend is to wake up early, especially in springtime where the days are a little bit longer, around 6 a.m. And if you're somebody that wakes up really late, you can start to gradually go to bed an hour earlier on the first week and so forth, and then work your way down. You will feel so good. You can be awake for the same amount of time and asleep for the same amount of time. But if you go to bed, let's say by 10, and you wake up around 6, you are going to notice a boost in your productivity. Your health will improve, and you're going to feel vibrant. So I want you to try that. Scrape tongue to remove ama, or toxins. In this case, ama is a term in Ayurveda that has to do with toxins and buildup and congestion. So the scraping your tongue is actually pretty common now, but it's a very ancient practice from Ayurveda. And you do this first thing in the morning after you brush your teeth, before you eat anything else or drink anything else. They sell scrape or tongue scrapers, but if not, you can do this with a spoon as well if you have at home, and so forth. Then you can also use sesame oil, is one of the best oils to use for any type of mind-body type, and or constitution, like the doshas, like I was saying. You can use this on your skin, on your body, like you can apply it like 15 minutes before you take a shower and kind of let it sit there. I have more information on this if you're interested to know about it in Ayurveda. This is an actual practice called Abhyanga. And you can also massage your nasal passages. So you can apply a little bit of sesame oil on your pinky finger, and then rub it gently around inside of your nose passages. And then that's it. You don't have to inhale it all the way up your nose. That's not necessary. The oil will help to do a lot of the decongestion and natural cleansing. And then I would say I left these two last, but they are definitely probably one of the most important and applies to every season: meditation and sleep. You want to prioritize these two as much as you can, especially if you are struggling with any health or energy conditions right now. Meditation is definitely a beautiful, beautiful practice. There's so many styles of meditation. There's so many options available now more than ever. If you're new to meditation, then you probably saw when you registered for this webinar, I sent to you via email my number one practice, my number one tool for every season of the year, and that's meditation. And there, I have videos. So if you haven't looked at that yet, I highly recommend that you look at it. I have videos that talk about the different styles of meditation, and I do guided meditation. So if you're new to meditation or want to boost and explore options and need motivation, I highly recommend that you go back to that first email I sent after you register for the webinar. It's a confirmation email, and in there, there's a link that'll take you to the rest. Sleep is king. If we don't sleep at least 7 to 8 hours, I know there's very few exceptions to this, then we will feel it sooner rather than later. So this is a whole topic I'm very passionate about, both these meditation and sleep. So I can do a whole nother class on it, but I just want you to remember, prioritize these two as much as you can. And really all of these habits, especially during spring season, because your body is trying to like, okay, let's move on, let's cleanse, let's get ready for spring, which is a totally different season than the previous winter. Number 4, exercise and yoga. Not to confuse that yoga is a type of exercise, because I used to think that was the case. I used to do the intense yoga classes where you really would would strive to overachieve a pose and kind of get a very high intensity movements training to try and not necessarily burn calories, but like to get a workout. And then I learned that that's not the purpose of yoga. I learned that it is a mind-body practice. And I'm actually in the process of becoming a certified yoga teacher and for 500 hours. So I'm very excited, and I'll give more information on that in the future. But my goal is to use yoga and Ayurveda hand in hand, because yoga is actually the sister science of Ayurveda. They both came from the same culture, the same concept of mind body wellness. Okay, so for exercise, I like to say mobility more to keep it general, because you have options. You can definitely do things like jogging, cycling, swimming, hiking, body weight workouts. If you feel comfortable adding a little bit of weights, work with a trainer if it's the first time for you working with weights. But I recommend to do any physical type of activities from 7 to 11 a.m. or from 4 to 6 p.m. Be mindful of that sun exposure to not overdo it. And then, if there's any other activity that you like to do that is not too straining, or that doesn't cause too much harm to the body or your health, then you can continue to do that on a regular basis. I would say just stay moving throughout the day. If you have a desk job and you're sitting for too long, try and take a little bit of a 5-minute walking break or stretching. Then from a yoga perspective, like I said, there's certain poses that help to literally during spring season give us that mind-body balance. Sun salutations, warrior poses, and of course savasana. Okay, so now I want to talk about a bonus, really important part of spring wellness, which has to do with the cleansing part of it. I've mentioned cleansing a lot in the previous practices and the previous tips, but this is where I'm going to go into a little bit of more detail of why we need to do cleansing on a regular basis. In Ayurveda, it's recommended to do at least 2 times a year in the transition between winter and spring, and then right before fall. So with that in mind, that means that right now it's the best time to do a cleanse. And this is really to help us nourish, renew our mind and body, rejuvenate, and get rid of extra toxins and things that may have accumulated in the past couple months during winter. So first of all, what are some of the benefits of doing a cleanse? What does this mean after you finish a cleanse from an Ayurvedic perspective? This is not fasting. This is not mad juicing, doing like a crazy juice fast for a week and so forth. Juices are good, but we need other things to have a successful cleanse. I've tried them. I've tried different cleanses, even taking some natural supplements and things that are supposed to do the job. No, this, like I said, Ayurveda is a time-tested holistic science that has existed for thousands of years, and we still practice Ayurvedic cleanses till this day. And these are some of the benefits. We are able to regulate and balance digestion and elimination, which is very common in a lot of people these days because of what they eat. So we want to balance these two so that it doesn't contribute to more health issues. Support the maintenance of healthy body weight, restore and maintain balanced sleep cycles, prepare the tissues for deep nourishment and rejuvenation, promote optimal health and vitality long term, restore a sense of calm to the mind and the nervous system. We also have clarity and balance in the mental, physical, and emotional spheres. And then after all of this, we start to connect the dots in our lives and see things that maybe before we didn't think we were capable of doing. We have more enthusiasm towards life. We're motivated to achieve goals in our personal and professional life. And so now it starts to become like a normal part of our life to do these seasonal cleanses. And especially if it's your first time, I highly recommend that they're guided. But not only that, it's just you glow, you feel and you look amazing. So with that being said, what happens if we don't cleanse? Let's say we don't do any cleanse throughout the year, or you've never done a cleanse before. Maybe these are some of the things that you've struggled with. And actually put in the chat box, put if any of these have been a struggle for you in the past or currently. If we don't cleanse, we're more likely to struggle with digestive difficulties of any kind, have intense cravings for spicy, salty, and sweet foods, tend to have trouble listening to what our body needs. So then we tend to overeat, undereat, oversleep, undersleep, over exercise, under exercise. So it just creates a whole imbalance in all of these habits that are meant to be seamless. Frequently lack of energy or feeling exhausted, very common, because if we're still accumulating toxins inside and we're not properly cleansing, we start to see it in other places. The skin issues are very common, very pretty straightforward sign that there's something going on inside of us. Then we also suffer from stress or feelings of anxiousness, depression, things like that, have trouble sleeping, or maybe you wake up in the middle of the night, like 2 or 3 in the morning when you shouldn't, or you wake up feeling unrested. Your mind feels scattered and you have trouble focusing and paying attention and remembering things, tend to feel foggy headed or lethargic. And then you just kind of have this feeling of not feeling good inside out, and just like you don't know what's wrong. You know there's something going on and you kind of want to like address it, but you just drinking coffee to get you through the day and just not feeling like you're 100%. So I have great news, and that is I am organizing a Ayurvedic holistic spring cleanse. That's right. So this month of March, starting on March 22nd through March 31st, 10 full days of guided spring cleanse by me. I will be guiding you through every step of the way. And these are some of the things that it includes. First, we will start off with a 35-minute one-on-one Ayurvedic health assessment. So I'm going to meet with each and one of you that want to experience the wonderful benefits of doing a cleanse. If it's your first time, if you've done it before, anybody is welcome. During this health assessment, we are going to identify your birth constitution or your Prakriti in Ayurveda. That is going to tell me which of those doshas, which of those elements that we talked about are predominant in your specific case. So there's ways to do that, and I will explain it very accurate. And then we're going to identify what are your current health imbalances. So I will explain what that means, and I will also give you more details on the cleanse. And after we have this assessment, I can tailor the cleanse to you. I can see the areas that we need to work on the most, and you will have pretty much a customized cleanse. It's not a one size fits all in Ayurveda, so this is no exception. After this assessment, you will get the materials, the digital materials, to your email so that you can start to organize things. This is before we even start the actual 10 days. This is before the 10 days start. So that's why I am informing now about the cleanse, so you have enough time to register today. And then after you receive the digital materials, the cleanse manual, I will also ship the supplies to your home or wherever you give me an address, a shipping address, and I will send that over to you. It includes more than 12, like about, I think 12 or 13 actual supplies, materials that you will need as part of the cleanse for the recipe. I have ingredients for the recipes that you'll need. I also have tools and oils that you'll need for the massage, right? We talked about the self-massage in our nostril, our nasal passages, and our skin to nourish the tissues and rejuvenate. And then I also have things like the tongue scraper, which you should be replacing ever so often. So even if you have one now, you can still use that as a replacement or a backup, and other things, other of those type of tools to go with the cleanse. You will use these for the cleanse. And then you don't have to worry about getting them because I will ship it all to you directly to the address to your home. And then that way you are ready to go for when March 22nd comes. You have the tools, you have the materials. We've met together one-on-one online, and you'll be completely guided during the 10 days. Every single day you will receive the step-by-step instructions on what to do, what to eat, if there's any mobility recommended, daily meditation, yoga recommendations, recipe guide with grocery lists, private group forum. I'm going to do the cleanse too, because of course I do these cleanses on a regular basis, especially during spring. So I will be doing the cleanse too. All of us will be in a private group where we can motivate each other, where we can support each other. And then of course you'll receive direct support from me as well. I decided to add 2 bonuses to all of this, and they are not included in the total cost. They're just because I feel like it would be nice to give this to you as a gift. Digital daily journal. What this is, and I'll send it to your email, is you can either print it or have it on your device. You can track your wellness progress every day of the cleanse. This is amazing because now you can start to monitor and share with yourself. You don't have to share this with anybody else, but like write down what you're feeling, how you're doing, everything from mind, body, and spirit experience. You will feel this cleanse more way beyond the physical. You're going to start to feel your emotions and your mental health. All of that will also start to cleanse and release. So in addition to that, I want to give you discounted Ayurvedic services for ongoing support after the cleanse if you want that. That's optional, but you will have that. I wouldn't give that outside of the program or this specific cleanse. So With that being said, the investment, because this is an investment in your temple, your body is your temple, right? So if we don't take care of our bodies, then they start to deteriorate, and everything else, life just gets harder when we are sick and we have to worry about getting better. Because when we try to prevent getting to that state, it is easier to manage and we feel better. Okay, so the health investment for the spring Ayurvedic cleanse is 242 US dollars. And this is a discounted price. This is a webinar special only. The original price was 324. So we go from 324 to 242 only for this webinar. And all you have to do is go to the website here, vivanaturally.com/spring cleanse. In there, you will find all the information that I've covered today and more. And all you have to do is click on the button that says reserve my spot. When you reserve your spot, then it'll take you to a scheduler where you can book that first meeting. Remember, the first step is having that one-on-one health assessment online. So you'll find time, we'll meet, and then I'll give you the rest of the supplies and materials and so forth. So that's the first step. And I'm really excited to announce this here because it connects so well. Like I said, the cleansing part is often overlooked, and most of the time it's because people aren't aware about it. So it is, I feel like it is my calling. It is also my passion to share this knowledge with you, to give you this option towards wellness, because this is going to help you continue on your health journey long term. I always focus on long term. What can I do today to help me stay well, healthy, and balanced long term? This is a great way, especially if you're new to eating healthy, to Ayurveda, to yoga, to meditation. All of these will be covered during the cleanse from the most basic level so that we're all level set and grounded. And then, of course, you have the ability to keep going after that. So now, if you register today, you have the option to either do one payment of 242 or two payments of 126. If you do two payments of 126, then the first payment is due upon you registering or reserving your spot and scheduling your health assessment. Again, everything is laid out in the website, vivanaturally.com/spring cleanse. This is an exclusive webinar promotion. I actually have, my cleanses are over $200. They're priced higher, almost $400. And I decided to bring this down so that it's more available to people, so that we continue to together be advocates of Ayurveda. And first, we have to start with ourselves. We can't help others too much if we ourselves are struggling. So I highly encourage you to take that step towards your own well-being. And I really would love for you to see the results yourself, to experience these results yourself. Everything you learned so far here are parts, just bits and pieces of the parts that will continue on for you to be healthy and well long term. So here are just a few testimonials of clients that I've worked with in Ayurveda. Natalie says, Juliana has helped me create new healthy habits, improve my lifestyle, and reach new goals and areas of the mind, body, and spirit well-being. She's a professional wellness coach, always interested and willing to answer my questions. We also have Anne, a retired nurse. It has always been hard to relax, quiet my mind, and initiate sleep. I find Juliana's coaching to be very helpful. Listening to her calm, clear voice and following her prompts did help me sleep right away, and I believe I now sleep better. I am very thankful to Juliana for helping me discover how I could improve this vital life function and feel so much better each day. This is specific to meditation, and then the previous one was specific to overall Ayurveda. So with that being said, I promised you that I'll give you, for those of you attending my live webinar here right now, a PDF with spring Ayurvedic food recipes. And I will put it in the chat window so you'll see it in there. It's the direct link that I'll put in right now. And should be there now. So all you have to do is click on that link if you're here with me, and it'll take you to the PDF to download. Very easy. I really hope you enjoy these recipes. Let me know if there's any one of them that you like the most. I hope you enjoy. And again, that's a thank you from me to you for attending this live class, taking the time out of your day to invest on your own well-being. So to recap what we talked about today, and to bring it all into perspective, we'll get into the Q&A shortly. Ayurveda, the overview of this ancient holistic science of health, we talked about that. Again, just scratching the surface. There's so much more about Ayurveda. And I am so, so glad and blessed and thankful for being able to have studied Ayurveda, practice it, and teach it, and show other people this lifestyle. Is beyond a lifestyle, to be honest. Then I talked to you a little bit about my health story. We went and talked about the seasons of nature and how they have an effect on us humans and other living things. We also, of course, talked about the 4 Ayurvedic practices to be well and healthy during spring season. That was the core part of this webinar. Then I mentioned that part of that wellness during spring season is the cleansing. It's a perfect time for our bodies to do this cleansing. You can do the cleanse any other time of the year, but this is a time where it helps to make the process even smoother, and it facilitates, because it's connected with nature, facilitates that removal of toxins and excess accumulation. And I shared a little bit of the testimonials, some testimonials that I have more. If you want to read more, you can go to my website, and there's more there, vivanaturally.com. Class bonuses. The first one was the one that I just gave you, spring cleanse discount, and the PDF with Ayurvedic recipes. So those 2 are the bonuses of this class. If you are watching the replay, the discount applies to you as well. It is for a limited time. So we have the discount for the webinar only available for a limited time, and that's the $242. But we do have the option of, if you like to, we can actually, what we can do here, I can share with you what the page looks like. So once you go to vivanaturally.com/spring cleanse, you will see this website, which you can go, if you're here, I already put the link in the chat box. And if you're watching me from home as the replay, then you are seeing here the page, right? So here's a page, vivanaturally.com/spring cleanse. And I say, by properly cleansing and nourishing the body and mind while also reducing toxins from the environment, we are capable to heal, prevent health issues, gain strength, and feel vibrant inside out. It's really important. So I mentioned the benefits of Ayurveda and doing the cleanse. And we talked about this during the webinar and what is included in the cleanse. So we also cover this in the webinar. And then down here, you can reserve your spot here, or at there's the same button at the top. I mentioned that the deadline to register is March 8th. That's just because we want to have enough time to prepare to have that one-on-one meeting, and then also to send the supplies over to you and have you prepare before we even start the cleanse on the 22nd. The cleanse ends on the 31st. And then I mentioned here, what does the price include? The health assessment and the manuals, digital materials, the yoga, meditation, the group form, the daily support, and those 2 bonus gifts. All of that is included here in the 121. and price, but then the other 121 is for the cleanse supplies listed. So if for some reason you have all of the supplies, and we can figure that out in our health one-on-one, our health assessment that you can book here by clicking reserve spot. If you have these tools already at home, then you can opt out of getting them, and you'll just have to pay 121 for the cleanse part, the everything else that we have here. However, I highly encourage you to still get the rest of the supplies, because these supplies, if you have some, you would just have for a longer period of time. I get a discount on the supplies, so you'll find them at a better rate with me, and also you will have leftover. You will definitely have leftover after the 10 days to keep using your supplies afterwards. So you can continue to make those recipes and use the tools every day as part of that daily routine that we were talking about, the daily habits. So again, from the original price 324 down to 242, it's a great deal. You don't have to pay the 242 upfront. You can just do the first payment of 126, and then the second payment afterwards is due before the end of the cleanse. So when you click reserve my spot, it'll take you to this page, and this is the scheduler, and it's pretty straightforward. Here is where you are able to schedule the 35-minute health assessment with just me, and you'll pick your time zone. Then you'll go and pick the times and the dates that work for you. Again, I recommend that you book your health assessment before the 22nd, so no later than March 21st, so that you can get the materials in advance and be ready to go. Now, after the meeting, then you'll receive the rest of the materials. I mentioned the cost here again and what it includes, and then the way to submit your payment over to me. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. If you think of any questions after the webinar, we'll answer a few in a second. You can either email me, juliana@vivanaturally.com, or you can message me in our Instagram or Facebook. We are at Viva Naturally. In fact, I actually encourage you to follow us on those social media networks, so that you can get a lot of free content and tips and suggestions and things that I post there related to Ayurveda. So with that being said, that concludes today's webinar. So we have talked about a lot of things. I really hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. It was such a pleasure being here with you. Thank you for, again, taking the time to absorb all of this amazing, holistic, and ancient wisdom of Ayurveda. And I just want to close with one of my favorite quotes from Brandon Burchard, and it's, "You're capable of remarkable things that you could never foretell and will never discover without taking action." What that means, in my opinion, is pretty much, you don't know the benefits of what you study, what you learn, in this case, this webinar. I mean, you can Google, you can read books, you can hear speeches and talks and so forth, webinars. But if you don't put it to practice into your life, if you don't take some of that, at least a few things from it, and apply it into your life, really, then it's just theory, and you may even forget about it. So now that you have this information fresh, I encourage you to create an action plan and see where you can start. And this is where working with an Ayurvedic practitioner helps, because we can help you identify how to get started, where to get started, and guide you through every step of the way. But I hope that a lot of this talk that we had today gave you the motivation and the tools to at least get started. So if you want to learn more about Ayurveda and this topic, then you can reach out to me directly, or again, register for our spring cleanse. We can have a chat there if you have any other questions during our call. Now we're going to go ahead and move to our Q&A. Last but not least. So if you submitted questions during the presentation, I have queued them up here so that I can answer them. You have the option of either submitting your questions publicly where everybody in the call can see it, or privately to me if you don't want anybody else to see your question. So I won't call your name. And the first question is, what happens after I register for the webinar? Or did you mean the cleanse or the webinar? I think you were talking about the cleanse. So let me answer both just in case. So after the webinar, you will receive an email from me with the replay of this video, of this class recording. And you have the opportunity to watch it again if you want. If you want to retake notes and watch it again. And then I'll also send the information to register for the cleanse, the spring cleanse, in there as well. Now, after you sign up for the spring cleanse, the first step is to book your the health assessment, right? So in that scheduler that I showed you, you book your health assessment, and then we work together. We meet, and then we do everything that I explained. So that's the first step. So I hope that answered your question. And it's a great question too. Maybe other folks had it too. It's good to share. Okay, then the next question is, how do I submit the payment for cleanse? So in the scheduler, when you go to vivanaturally.com/spring cleanse, it'll take you to the website with all the information, and there's a button and you click, it says reserve my spot. So you click that, and then it'll take you to a scheduler where you can select the time zone, the date, and the time for us to meet for 35 minutes, right? So in that scheduler, you will see the information of how to submit your payment. You can pay via Venmo or Zelle. And if there's any other payment options that you don't like, if you don't have Zelle or Venmo, then during our consultation, or you can email me, Juliana@vivanaturally, we can work and see if there's other options that work for you as well. So, all right, so I think we're out of time here. I once again want to thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed this class, and yeah, I look forward to hearing from you soon. I'm very excited for this cleanse, to do it together. Spread the awareness. If there's anybody that you know in your circle of friends, family, network that can, everybody benefits from the spring cleanse, really, no matter who they are, where they are from, and where they live. So if there's anybody that you know that you feel comfortable sharing the spring cleanse website, then you can share it with them as well. So same thing, same link. All right. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day or your night, wherever you are in the world, and bye for now.